Arcturians, activate your light body now. Hello again, dear starseeds. I am Lady. We have been observing the unfolding of your collective journey with immense tenderness, accompanied by profound trust. This is because we can perceive what you often still struggle to feel from within the immediate moment. The ceaseless and subtle rise of your vibrational frequency, the silent, profound reorganization occurring within your intricate nervous systems, the gradual softening of your ingrained defenses, and the beautiful, inevitable return to your most authentic and natural state of being. This inherent, natural state is decidedly not one characterized by perpetual struggle, nor by the gnawing grip of anxiety. It is not an endless, exhaustive scanning of the horizon for every potential pitfall or perceived threat. Your true, natural state is one of exquisite coherence. Your natural state is the deep, abiding resonance of inner peace. Your natural state is expansive, unburdened presence. And from within this fundamental presence, the light body is not something laboriously achieved or acquired like a prize or trophy. Instead, it is unveiled, elegantly revealed as the luminous essence you have always inherently been. We are keenly aware that the phrase, and quote, light body activation, end quote, carries a multitude of interpretations and resonates with many different meanings across your diverse world. There are indeed numerous voices, each endeavoring to articulate and define its essence. Some illuminate it as a profound, mystical transformation, a quantum leap in spiritual evolution, while others interpret it as a cellular awakening, a repatterning and activation of dormant or suppressed DNA strands. Certain perspectives relate it intimately to the Merkaba, to intricate sacred geometry, or to the radiant phenomenon known as the rainbow body. Still others meticulously describe it as a gentle, gradual process of ascension, where the physical form progressively becomes more luminous, exquisitely responsive, and increasingly receptive to the intricate whispers of higher consciousness. And then, there are those who steadfastly demand empirical proof, insisting that their intellectual minds must be thoroughly satisfied with rational explanation and verifiable data before their hearts can even begin to contemplate opening to such concepts. We are not here, in this moment, to engage in any debate or to validate one specific position over another. Our purpose is far simpler and yet infinitely more profound. We are here to extend to you a living transmission, a tangible path that can be actively walked and embodied. We offer a clear structure, meticulously designed to be simple enough for daily, consistent practice, yet simultaneously profound enough to gracefully carry you through one significant threshold of awareness after another, guiding you progressively deeper into your authentic self. We will articulate this transmission through 5 distinct movements, understanding that your discerning physical mind inherently appreciates the clarity and order of structure, while your expansive soul deeply cherishes and responds to rhythm. These 5 movements are not, in any sense, disparate or isolated. Rather, they form an elegant, interconnected spiral, much like a single, breathing organism. They flow seamlessly, one into another, just as the myriad experiences and facets of your life naturally integrate and flow into themselves. We encourage you to begin precisely where you find yourself in this moment, for as you do, you will discover that the rest of the journey unfolds and arrives quite naturally, without force or struggle. 1. Coherence, the foundation asterisk. The veritable foundation of the light body is not built upon spectacle, nor does it arise from dramatic external displays. Its true bedrock is unwavering stability. Many among you who identify yourselves as starseeds and light workers, driven by an understandable zeal, have often attempted to leap directly into higher, more profound experiences, such as vivid visions, direct contact with other realms, telepathic communication, or instantaneous manifestations, without first diligently cultivating the stable energetic field that is absolutely essential for integrating such experiences without distortion, energetic overload, or misinterpretation. We truly comprehend this underlying impatience. Deep within your cellular memory, you still vividly recall what you were once effortlessly capable of. You remember the innate ease of profound communion, the crystalline clarity of intuitive guidance, and the boundless freedom of multidimensional perception. This potent memory can, at times, make your current incarnation within Earth and Apos' density feel unexpectedly heavy or restrictive. Yet, your conscious incarnation on Earth was never, in its fundamental design, intended to be an escape from density. On the contrary, it was divinely purposed to be the very alchemy of density, the sacred process of transforming its raw material into profound wisdom, and subsequently transforming that wisdom into pure love in dynamic motion. Coherence is the pivotal condition that renders this exquisite alchemy possible. Coherence represents that harmonious state in which your heart, your breath, your mind, and your physical body are no longer fragmented, no longer pulling in discordant or opposing directions. Incoherence, conversely, is precisely the condition you commonly label as, stress. And stress, we emphasize, is far more than merely a transient mental state. It is, in essence, a biological command, a primal directive that instinctively tenses your physical body, dramatically narrows your field of attention, and significantly reduces the energetic bandwidth through which higher frequency information and subtle guidance can effectively flow. This is precisely why we have consistently reiterated through countless transmissions that inner peace must invariably come first. We are not issuing a moral imperative or a spiritual command. Rather, we are simply describing an immutable law of resonance. You would not consciously choose to create your reality from a vibrational field of chaos, fear, deep despair, consuming anger, or unheld pain. Instead, you inherently desire to create from the firm, unshakable ground of profound inner peace, because peace, in its purest form, is the unmistakable signature of a soul that deeply knows and recognizes itself as eternal and boundless. As you consciously cultivate and deepen this state of coherence, you naturally become an increasingly clearer and more finely tuned receiver of higher frequencies. The light body does not violently force its way into your experience. Instead, it gently, elegantly emerges as your entire system becomes sufficiently safe, stable, and ready enough to comfortably sustain its radiant presence. Many among you have been systematically trained by your societal structures to feel intrinsically unsafe within your own physical bodies. You have been conditioned, over generations, to predominantly inhabit your heads, to relentlessly consume endless streams of external information, to constantly compare yourselves to others, to perpetually anticipate the worst-case scenarios, and to ceaselessly argue with the unyielding reality of the present moment. Yet, the soul does not activate or expand through tension, struggle, or intellectual debate. It graciously activates and unfolds through profound, unconditional permission. Therefore, in this initial and foundational movement, we extend a sincere invitation for you to embrace a truly practical approach. Inner peace is not an abstract spiritual ideal or a distant aspiration. It is a profoundly trainable state, a skill you can master. You possess the inherent capacity to teach your body, with gentle patience, that the present moment is not a looming threat, but a safe harbor. You can instruct your breath to transform from an automatic, reactive gasp into a conscious, deliberate bridge connecting you to tranquility. You can diligently re-educate your nervous system, guiding it to understand and integrate the profound truth that safety is an internal, self-generated experience, not something contingent upon external circumstances. Indeed, some of your more avant-garde scientists have recently stumbled upon what your ancient mystics have always known and practiced. When the breath becomes rhythmic, fluid, and intentional, and the heart and Apos' beat becomes steady, harmonious, and open, Your entire biological and energetic system instantaneously becomes more intelligent. You are not required to become accomplished scientists yourselves to fully benefit from this profound understanding. It is simply enough to practice these principles with genuine intent. It is enough to simply observe and notice how a slower, softer, more conscious breathing pattern profoundly transforms your entire inner world within mere minutes. It is enough to intuitively perceive that your body responds to the mindful way you breathe, as if your breath itself were casting a direct vote for the preferred timeline you wish to consciously experience. Because, in truth, it absolutely is. Dear starseeds and light workers, you are collectively moving into a more coherent and resonant form of seeking. But this is not because you are frantically chasing after a new or esoteric technique. Rather, you are naturally and inevitably returning to the pristine, authentic state of your soul. Your true mission in this extraordinary phase of evolution is not to become more complex in your thinking or your being. Your paramount mission is, quite simply, to become more profoundly coherent. When you're anchored in this state of coherence, you are far less easily swayed or dragged down by the volatile emotional weather patterns of your planet. You can observe unsettling headlines and challenging news without being emotionally hijacked or overwhelmed by them. You can extend genuine compassion without collapsing into states of despair or helplessness. You can actively participate in the world without losing your essential center or yourself in the process. And when a critical mass of you consistently sustain this profound coherence, you collectively become powerful stabilizers for the entire planetary collective. You become the serene, calm center to which others, often unconsciously, begin to attune and resonate. You embody a silent, yet incredibly potent form of leadership. You become a living, energetic field that effortlessly transmits permission. Permission for others to finally exhale, permission to soften their rigid defenses, permission to cease perpetually fighting against the flow of the present moment. So, we lovingly invite you to embrace coherence as your primary devotion, not as a rigid rule or a demanding obligation, but as an act of profound self-kindness and deep respect for your own intricate system. Let your day graciously begin with a breath that is unhurried, gentle, and intentional. Allow your physical body to fully receive the comforting message that it is profoundly safe to simply be here in this moment. Let your discerning mind learn, with tender patience, that it is not, in fact, necessary to solve the entire universe before you even begin your breakfast. Gently place your conscious attention in the very center of your chest, at your heart space, and simply observe what subtle yet profound changes unfold when you do so. If you can consciously access and sustain this coherent state, even for a mere few minutes each day, you are already dramatically transforming your fundamental relationship with the nature of time itself, with the boundless realm of possibility, and with the very fabric of reality. You are already gracefully stepping onto a more harmonious and fluid timeline. And from within this enriched timeline, the radiant light body begins to awaken and unfold as naturally, as inevitably, and as beautifully as the dawn follows the darkest night. As the state of coherence becomes increasingly familiar and deeply embodied, something truly transformative begins to occur. The tenacious grip of the analytical mind gently loosens its hold. The intuitive heart then begins to speak with greater clarity and volume, making its wisdom more easily accessible. The next profound movement in your journey then becomes not just a possibility, but an undeniable, inevitable progression. 2. Descent into the heart, asterisk, asterisk. The heart, dear ones, is far more than simply an emotional center, a mere repository for your feelings. It is, in its profound essence, the most direct and potent bridge connecting your human self to your expansive higher self. And so, we now guide you into the second vital movement, the conscious descent into the heart, not as a poetic metaphor or a romantic ideal, but as precise, actionable instruction. Coherence is not merely a personal energetic state or a valuable tool for nervous system regulation. While it certainly encompasses these aspects, coherence is fundamentally also the luminous portal through which you actively reconnect with the vast and intricate architecture of who you truly are, far beyond your individual incarnation. Many of you have intuitively sensed this profound truth, even if you have yet to find the precise words to articulate it. When your inner energetic field stabilizes, when the ceaseless static of fear and the relentless pressure of urgency finally quiet down, something incredibly subtle yet profoundly significant becomes available to you. Unimpeded access to your higher soul network. You are not, and have never been, a single, isolated incarnation traversing linear time in solitude. You are, in fact, a magnificent and multifaceted expression of a much vaster, omnipresent consciousness, currently exploring and experiencing itself through an intricate web of countless realities, various physical bodies, and numerous timelines simultaneously. We have previously conversed with you about what you often refer to as, in quote, past lives, in quote. While this term in its linear simplicity does not fully encapsulate the multidimensional truth of these parallel experiences, it is important to understand that those, in quote, lives, in quote, are not concluded or locked in an unchangeable past. On the contrary, they are actively vibrant, continuously learning, creatively manifesting, and evolving right alongside you. And you are, by design, meant to benefit immensely from the shared wisdom and unique perspectives of one another. Yet, access to this incredible shared intelligence and the profound wisdom it holds does not open through strenuous effort, relentless mental seeking, or analytical reasoning. It gracefully opens through cultivated coherence. When your inner field is agitated, when your thoughts race uncontrollably, and when your emotions remain unresolved and turbulent, the signal-to-noise ratio within your system is simply too distorted for subtle, meaningful communication between these various aspects of your being. It is akin to attempting to tune into a delicate, specific radio frequency while being engulfed by an overwhelming cacophony of static. However, when coherence is consciously present, when your heart rhythm, your breath, and your awareness align in exquisite harmony, the energetic static dissipates, and the subtle, clear signal of your higher self strengthens dramatically. This is precisely why many of you often experience sudden, brilliant insights, unexpected creative leaps, or an inexplicable, profound knowing during moments of deep calm and inner peace, rather than amidst stress or frantic activity. In those moments, you are not merely inventing or fabricating. You are in truth receiving. In these coherent states, the subtle boundary separating your conscious human mind from your expansive higher soul begins to thin and dissolve. Information flows with greater ease and clarity. Guidance arrives not as an audible voice, but as a felt clarity of vivid image, a profound memory that possesses a quality distinct from mere imagination, or a decision that simply feels utterly obvious and intrinsically right, requiring no lengthy justification or intellectual debate. Some of you might experience this as exceptionally vivid and meaningful dreams, while others encounter it as powerful daydreams imbued with significant emotional weight. Still others notice sudden, liberating shifts in their core identity, perhaps realizing that an old, persistent fear no longer truly belongs to them, or recognizing that a new, previously dormant capacity has quietly and beautifully become active within their being. These are not random psychological occurrences. They are, in fact, powerful cross-connection moments where another aspect of your multidimensional self generously shares what it has learned and experienced, and you, in turn, reciprocate by sharing your own accumulated wisdom. But once more, we underscore that coherence remains the indispensable key. You do not need to strenuously strive or exert force to access these intricate connections. In fact, such forceful striving often inadvertently closes the very door you seek to open. Your higher soul communicates most clearly, most eloquently, and most powerfully when your physical body feels deeply safe and at ease. This is precisely why we consistently and repeatedly emphasize the primacy of peace, not as a mere spiritual preference or an aesthetic ideal, but as an absolutely functional requirement for multidimensional integration and true spiritual awakening. As you diligently cultivate coherence, you may begin to notice that your deep-seated sense of individual separation starts to gently soften, not in a way that erases your unique identity, but in a way that beautifully expands and enriches you. You may begin to feel less isolated, even when you're physically alone. You may experience a profound sense of being constantly accompanied, supported by unseen forces. You may intuitively feel that important decisions are being made with you, in partnership, rather than solely by you in isolation. This is not a sign of dependency. It is a profound and harmonious alignment with your greater self. And as more and more of you consciously enter and sustain this coherent state, something far grander than mere personal awakening begins to unfold. Your individual coherence starts to subtly attune and positively influence the energetic field around you. You inhabit a planet that is, in itself, a conscious living being, possessing its own intricate electromagnetic rhythms, a vast emotional memory, and a unique evolutionary trajectory. The Earth, in its profound wisdom, responds directly and powerfully to coherence. Human nervous systems and planetary energetic fields are not, in truth, separate entities. They're intricately nested, interconnected systems. When you achieve and sustain inner coherence, you are not merely stabilizing your individual self. You are actively transmitting a powerful, stabilizing signal to the entire collective consciousness of the planet. This is why a single calm, centered person in a chaotic room can fundamentally shift the entire atmosphere without uttering a single word. This is why mass meditations, conducted with coherent intent, have demonstrably measurable effects on crime rates, the intensity of conflicts, and overall social tension. This is why light workers who prioritize inner peace and harmonious resonance over external battles and opposition often exert a far greater, more profound impact than those who attempt to forcefully, end quote, fight the darkness, end quote. You do not need to wage a futile war against fear. Your true power lies in resonating at a frequency significantly higher than it. Coherence functions as a sophisticated form of planetary attunement. When a sufficient number of you consciously hold a heart-based, stable presence, the collective energetic field of the planet becomes noticeably less volatile. Extreme or undesirable timelines lose their energetic force, reactive and divisive narratives weaken their hold, and new, more harmonious possibilities gain profound traction and momentum. This is not simply, end quote, positive thinking, end quote. It is a fundamental principle of how complex energetic systems behave when they are exposed to stable, coherent oscillators. You are, in this pivotal time, consciously learning to become precisely those powerful, stabilizing oscillators. It is also why we gently, yet firmly, encourage you to refrain from consuming constant, overwhelming streams of alarming or fear-based information. Not because we advocate for ignorance or a lack of awareness, but because a sustained influx of fear-based input actively destabilizes your vital coherence and inadvertently pulls you into timelines and realities you genuinely do not wish to energize or experience. You are far more effective, impactful, and truly beneficial when you are informed but not hijacked by fear, compassionate but not utterly overwhelmed, and deeply aware but not perpetually agitated. As starseeds and light workers, many of you consciously chose to incarnate with particularly sensitive energetic systems. This heightened sensitivity was never a flaw or a weakness. It was, in fact, a magnificent design feature. You possess the innate ability to perceive and feel subtle shifts within the collective energetic field long before they manifest as visible, tangible events. However, sensitivity without the anchor of coherence can easily devolve into debilitating anxiety. Sensitivity, when harmonized with coherence, transforms into profound wisdom and intuitive guidance. So, your sacred task is not to numb yourselves or to harden your sensitive systems. Your task is to stabilize them. When you successfully accomplish this, your inherent sensitivity becomes an extraordinary gift. You can then intuitively sense the overarching direction in which the collective is moving and consciously choose where to wisely place your attention and energy. You can sense when a particular timeline is losing its viability and consciously withdraw your precious energy from it. You can sense when a new, more harmonious pattern is forming and consciously nourish it with your focused intent. This, dear ones, is advanced creation in action, and it begins with something exquisitely simple: genuine inner peace, not a forced calm, not a spiritual bypass that avoids discomfort, but true, authentic peace that emanates from being fully, vibrantly present in your physical body, breathing naturally and effortlessly, and gracefully allowing life to unfold without constant resistance or struggle. We want you to deeply understand that coherence is not a passive state. It is, in its essence, an active posture of profound trust. It quietly yet powerfully declares, and quote, "I am fully here in this present moment. I am safe enough to fully feel all that arises. I do not need to rush or force the future. I can meet this moment exactly as it is, with openness and acceptance." End quote. From within this empowered posture of trust, the light body begins to awaken and unveil itself gently, intelligently, and sustainably, becoming an integrated part of your living experience. So, as you continue upon this illuminated path, please remember this vital truth. Coherence is not the mere absence of intensity or challenging emotions. It is, rather, the inherent capacity to gracefully hold and contain intensity without succumbing to fragmentation or overwhelm. It is the energetic foundation that allows your human form to comfortably host and embody higher frequencies without strain or dis-ease. It is what enables your soul to seamlessly integrate experiences and wisdom across multiple timelines. It is what allows your radiant presence to become a potent form of medicine for the entire world. And this is precisely why we commence our guidance here. Always here, repeatedly returning to this fundamental principle. Because when coherence is firmly established and deeply embodied, everything else in your evolutionary journey naturally and beautifully follows. 3. Descent into the heart continued, and purification asterisk asterisk. Many humans on your planet currently hold the belief that the heart is merely a place where feelings reside, while the analytical mind is the sole arbiter of truth and reason. This, dear ones, is an ancient and profound misunderstanding on your planet, a misconception consistently reinforced by educational systems that often disproportionately reward rigorous analysis over intuitive knowing, and by pervasive cultural conditioning that tends to treat the physical body as little more than a vehicle to be managed, controlled, or even subjugated, rather than as a living, breathing intelligence to be deeply listened to and honored. Yet, we assure you, your heart is not a vulnerability or a weakness. It is, in its magnificent design, the central command center for your entire energetic and spiritual alignment. The heart is the exquisite interface through which your higher mind can communicate profound truths and guidance in ways that your human mind can genuinely translate and comprehend. The heart is where you instinctively recognize authentic resonance, where you feel an expansion of truth. It is the sacred space where you inherently discern the subtle, yet crucial, difference between what is merely noisy, distracting, or fear-based, and what is truly, authentically true and resonant for your being. In your current era, the pervasive temptation to remain solely anchored within the confines of the intellect, the logical mind, is incredibly strong. You live in an age characterized by an unprecedented deluge of information, and this endless stream of data can often furnish the mind with a compelling, yet ultimately illusory, sense of control. Many among you feel that if you could just learn enough, read enough, you only need to possess the clear capacity to hear and trust your inner guidance as each curve, each moment, gracefully arrives. This is precisely why the conscious descent into the heart is so profoundly essential at this juncture. When you consistently operate solely from the head, you invariably become mentally exhausted, emotionally reactive, and tragically, far too easily manipulated by the subtle or overt forces of fear. When you choose to consciously live from the open, intuitive heart, however, you become beautifully guided, deeply energized, and immovably stable amidst life and oppose as challenges. The heart does not communicate through lengthy arguments, intricate logical deductions, or complex narratives. It speaks, instead, in eloquent yet simple signals, an unmistakable feeling of expansion or gentle contraction, a sudden warmth or a subtle tightness, a profound sense of ease or a clear internal resistance, a quiet, undeniable sense of yes, or a soft, patient knowing of not yet, Many of you have intuitively perceived and felt these delicate signals for years, yet often dismissed them because they did not arrive accompanied by a spreadsheet of verifiable proof or a logical explanation. Yet, the profound proof of the heart and oppose's wisdom lies demonstrably in the eventual outcome. When you courageously choose to follow your heart and oppose's subtle guidance, you frequently find yourself arriving precisely in the right place at the right time, without being able to intellectually explain how you knew the way. Conversely, when you consciously ignore its gentle promptings, you often discover yourself entangled in situations that feel heavy, confusing, and draining, even if they initially appeared perfectly logical or advantageous on paper. The heart is not irrational, dear ones. It is, in fact, suprarational. It possesses the unparalleled ability to integrate and process a vast multitude of data, energetic nuances, and subtle information far beyond the limited capacity of the conscious mind. Therefore, we lovingly ask you to commit to practicing this descent into the heart as a sacred, daily ritual and to treat it with the profound reverence it deserves, because it is indeed sacred. For a few moments, set aside your electronic devices, gently close your eyes, and allow yourself to simply feel your body from within, paying attention to its inner landscape. You do not need to strive for dramatic visions or profound mystical experiences. You simply need to be sincere, open, and present in your intention. Allow your conscious attention to softly travel from your forehead, the seat of your intellectual mind, downwards into the welcoming center of your chest, your heart space. Many of you will immediately notice a perceptible difference. Your breath will deepen naturally, your shoulders will relax, your jaw will release its habitual tension, and your entire inner atmosphere will perceptibly calm and settle. This is not mere imagination or wishful thinking. This is a tangible shift in command. You have successfully moved your locus of awareness from the incessantly scanning, analyzing mind to the receptive, knowing heart. As you consistently engage in this practice, you will gradually begin to discern a form of guidance that is not loud or forceful, but rather quiet, clear, and deeply resonant. You will start to intrinsically notice what genuinely lights you up from within, not as fleeting entertainment or external stimulation, but as a profound, unmistakable soul signal, guiding you toward your highest alignment. You will begin to intrinsically recognize which choices and paths bring your entire system into harmonious coherence, and which, conversely, fragment or deplete it. And this insight is absolutely crucial for the profound process of light-body activation, because the light body is not merely an ethereal layer of energy. It is the living embodiment of higher consciousness itself. Higher consciousness is not only brilliantly intelligent, it is inherently coherent, unconditionally loving, profoundly inclusive, and perpetually guided by divine wisdom. When you choose to consistently live from the authentic, open heart, you become perfectly compatible with this higher consciousness, and the light body naturally begins to weave its luminous threads throughout your physical biology, integrating itself into your very being. As this conscious descent into the heart stabilizes and becomes a more familiar, sustained state, a natural and profound clearing process simultaneously begins to unfold. You may notice emotions surfacing that you genuinely believed were long resolved or fully processed. You might become aware of various physical sensations that carry unexpected messages or insights. You may perceive old judgments, long-held resentments, or deep-seated fears quietly rising to the surface, gently asking to be fully completed, released, and transformed. This, dear ones, is not a regression into old patterns or an indication of backsliding. It is in fact purification. This is the third vital movement, and it is precisely the one that many individuals, in their haste or discomfort, unfortunately try to bypass or skip, which is often why they subsequently feel stuck, frustrated, or unable to progress. Purification is not synonymous with suffering. It is, in its highest form, liberation. When you consciously choose to live more fully from the heart, with its expansive wisdom and coherent energy, you may indeed discover previously unresolved emotions arising to your awareness or aspects of your life that suddenly feel incomplete, misaligned, or unfulfilled. Understand, with deep compassion, that this is not a regression to an earlier, less evolved state. It is unequivocally a sign of readiness. Your heart has diligently performed its profound work. It has successfully stabilized your perception, gracefully restored your inherent power of choice, and now gently guides you toward an even greater degree of internal congruence and authentic alignment. In your world, many traditional spiritual paths and philosophies have historically taught that pain is an indispensable prerequisite for profound growth. Some among you have internalized the belief that suffering makes you holy, that relentless struggle makes you worthy of divine grace, or that the process of ascension must be laboriously earned through intense hardship and arduous trials. We deeply understand the origins of these deeply ingrained beliefs, and we gently, yet firmly, convey to you this truth. You are now collectively outgrowing them. Genuine growth does not, in fact, inherently require trauma. Profound expansion does not necessitate catastrophe. Authentic awakening does not demand punishment or harsh lessons. Throughout your history, you have indeed utilized unwanted or challenging experiences as catalysts for growth. Yes, this is true, and you have become extraordinarily skilled at extracting profound wisdom from difficulty and adversity. However, you are now arriving at a stage of unprecedented collective maturity where you possess the conscious capacity to choose growth through pathways of ease, abundant joy, expansive presence, unconditional love, and vibrant creative exploration. You no longer need to perpetually prove your inherent strength by enduring continuous pain or hardship. Purification, then, in its truest and most liberated sense, is not about deliberately inflicting or forcing more pain upon yourself. It is, instead, about gracefully completing what has already been accumulated and stored within your energetic field. It is about consciously releasing what no longer genuinely serves your highest good or your evolutionary path. It is about letting go of old judgments, lingering fears, subtle resentments, and the insidious, often unconscious forms of self-attack and self-criticism that relentlessly drain your vital frequency and dim your inner light. You are currently immersed in a magnificent and profound cycle of completion on your planet. Many of you can feel its powerful energetic currents and its undeniable momentum. Relationships are currently undergoing intense scrutiny. Venerable, long-held roles that once defined individuals and societies are visibly dissolving, melting away like ice in the spring sun. Similarly, outdated identities, those rigid constructs we once clung to, are gradually losing their firm grip, becoming increasingly untenable. Furthermore, Established systems and structures that have ceased to genuinely serve the greater collective good are being critically questioned, even dismantled, revealing their inherent limitations. And ponder deeply what you might still be clinging to, perhaps out of a lingering sense of guilt, an ingrained feeling of obligation, or a deep-seated apprehension toward the inevitable currents of change that beckon. The profound process of purification very often initiates with a deceptively simple, yet utterly pivotal recognition, a quiet, undeniable inner knowing that, be it a relationship, a career path, a belief system, or a habit, no longer resonates, no longer feels authentically aligned with one and oppose, as evolving truth and higher purpose. This initial realization acts as a crucial turning point, a soft whisper from the soul, the heart speaking its unvarnished truth. Subsequently, the analytical mind typically arrives, laden with its characteristic arguments and insistent doubts. But what if I come to regret this decision? What if my perception is fundamentally flawed? What if I inadvertently cause disappointment to someone I care about? In concert with these mental machinations, the physical body often responds palpably, manifesting symptoms such as noticeable tension, pervasive fatigue, or a general sense of discomfort. This precise juncture is where a significant number of individuals halt their progress, primarily because they have been culturally conditioned to fear and actively avoid any sensation of unease or discomfort. However, it is vital to understand that discomfort frequently serves as the body and oppose, as eloquent, albeit subtle, declaration. There is a profound truth here residing within me that urgently seeks your conscious attention and acknowledgement. When you extend this discomfort your calm, non-judgmental attention, devoid of unnecessary drama or emotional exaggeration, you will often find that it perceptibly relaxes, its intensity diminishing. Conversely, when you choose to consciously ignore or suppress it, the sensation invariably intensifies, demanding an even louder voice. Some among you have undoubtedly experienced episodes of inexplicable physical pain for which there seems to be no straightforward medical explanation. We earnestly invite you, without any trace of fear or apprehension, to gently consider the possibility that physical pain frequently serves as a direct reflection of suppressed, denied, or unacknowledged emotional pain residing deep within. This perspective is offered not as an act of blame, but rather as an immense act of empowerment. For if the body is truly speaking a language of distress, then the body most certainly possesses the capacity to be heard and understood. When you summon the courage to become genuinely honest about an emotion you have assiduously avoided, perhaps a deep grief you steadfastly refuse to feel, an intense anger you were unwilling to admit, or a profound shame you were too afraid to confront, you may very well observe a noticeable softening and release within your physical form. Pain, in this context, is not an adversary to be vanquished. It is, in fact, a vital messenger. When you openly receive and acknowledge the message it conveys, the messenger itself no longer needs to resort to screaming for your attention. How, then, does one practically apply this wisdom in daily life? Begin with an act of profound self-kindness. Take several deep, deliberate breaths, allowing your nervous system to settle. Gently place your soft, compassionate attention upon the specific area of physical or emotional discomfort. Then, tenderly ask, what emotion is residing here, seeking expression? It is crucial that you do not demand an immediate answer or force a revelation. Instead, you simply create an open, receptive space, allowing an answer to gently emerge in its own time. Subsequently, grant yourself full permission to simply feel that emotion, to experience it completely without weaving elaborate narratives or fabricating justifications around it. Emotions are, at their core, pure energy in motion. They gracefully move through you when they are permitted to do so without judgment. Conversely, they stagnate and become stuck when they are judged, suppressed, or resisted. When you truly allow an emotion to simply exist without trying to change or control it, it naturally completes its cycle of expression and release. It does not need to become a chronic state. You do not need to construct your entire identity around its presence. You simply need to allow it to be fully felt, and then it can gracefully pass. Many of you also find deep resonance with various symbolic spiritual technologies designed for purification and energetic cleansing. We affirm, utilize whatever tools or practices genuinely assist you, as long as their ultimate aim and outcome is to gently return you to a state of unconditional love and inner harmony. The violet flame, for example, stands as an extraordinarily potent archetype representing spiritual transmutation and profound change. Whether you conceptualize it as a tangible energetic reality or simply a powerful psychological symbol, its efficacy remains remarkably consistent. It skillfully provides a rational mind with a constructive, inspiring image to focus upon, simultaneously facilitating the body and Appo's natural processes of release and energetic clearing. You can vividly imagine this luminous violet light enveloping your entire being, gently passing through each of your energy centers, meticulously removing anything that feels heavy or dense, thoroughly dissolving any residual fear or apprehension, and ultimately guiding you back to a state of serene neutrality, which then naturally blossoms into expansive openness. You might also articulate simple, yet potent decrees of release and liberation. You can intentionally invite forgiveness to manifest, not as a rigid moral performance or a grudging obligation, but as a living, pulsating frequency that permeates your very being. Compassion, in its purest form, also serves as an absolutely key technology in this transformative process. Compassion is the expansive energy that enables truth to be perceived with clarity, yet without the harsh sting of punishment or judgment. When you consciously hold yourself in a field of genuine compassion, you naturally cease feeling the incessant need to defend yourself against your own authentic emotions. You let go of the exhausting striving for perpetual perfection. You stop demanding of yourself to maintain an artificially high vibration at all times. Instead, you become profoundly real, and it is precisely within this fertile ground of raw reality that true and lasting transformation invariably occurs. As the journey of purification deepens, you will undoubtedly notice a fundamental shift in your intimate relationship with fear itself. Fear may still make its occasional appearance, but it will no longer possess the power to utterly consume or control you. Sadness may still arise, but it will no longer hold the capacity to define your entire being or identity. Anger, too, may still visit, but it will transmute its nature, becoming valuable information to be processed rather than a fixed aspect of who you fundamentally are. This evolving state is precisely what it signifies to become, end quote, lighter, end quote. Not that you magically cease to experience moments of density or challenge, but rather that these denser experiences gracefully move through you, like passing clouds, instead of taking up permanent residence within your inner landscape. Your emergent light body is anything but fragile. On the contrary, it is incredibly resilient and robust. It does not demand that you transform into an untouchable, ethereal being beyond human experience. Instead, it tenderly invites you to become a profoundly honest, authentic, and embodied being, fully present in your humanity and divinity. 4. Reception and repatterning. When you achieve a state of inner coherence, becoming deeply heart-centered and genuinely willing to release all that feels heavy or burdensome, you naturally become profoundly receptive to energies, insights, and guidance that resonate at a higher frequency. Receptivity, in this context, is anything but a passive state. It is, in fact, an intensely active and conscious opening. It represents the unwavering posture of a being who intrinsically understands that divine assistance and higher wisdom are perpetually present and readily available, and thus consciously ceases resisting these gifts with lingering doubt or cynical skepticism. You are, in truth, being assisted and supported in every single moment, in real time, by unseen forces and benevolent consciousness. Sometimes, what you receive precisely mirrors what you consciously are. Indeed, many of you are currently receiving powerful energetic waves and profound cosmic transmissions that actively influence and recalibrate your very cellular structure, your intricate organ systems, and the sensitive network of your nervous systems. Some of these potent energies arrive through majestic celestial alignments, through the potent thresholds of solstices and equinoxes, and through renowned cosmic portals you refer to as the Lion and Apos, S-Gate. Other energies emanate from the radiant sun, some from the living earth itself, and still others arrive through the collective, benevolent intentions of conscious beings spanning across your vast galaxy, all deeply invested in your collective awakening and evolution. If you are a particularly sensitive individual, you may perceive and experience these intense waves as pervasive fatigue, subtle tingling sensations throughout your body, exceptionally vivid dreams, profound emotional clearings, sudden, illuminating bursts of insight, or a compelling desire to withdraw from external stimuli and simplify your daily existence. None of these experiences are to be feared. They are often the unmistakable signs that your body is undergoing a profound reorganization and recalibration, preparing itself to comfortably carry and integrate an even greater intensity of light and higher frequencies. You have also been informed through numerous spiritual channels that your very DNA is intricately involved in this grand evolutionary process. While we will not engage in semantic debates regarding precise definitions, we will share what is most practically relevant. You inherently carry within your genetic code dormant potentials, extraordinary capabilities that are now being actively awakened and brought online through the conscious choices you make and the ever-increasing incoming frequencies you integrate. Some of these activated potentials relate to an enhanced intuition, a deeper empathy, latent telepathic abilities, profound healing capacities, and an expanded, multidimensional perception of reality. Others pertain to your inherent ability to engage in conscious contact with other intelligent beings from across the cosmos without experiencing overwhelming shock or disorientation. And yes, it is absolutely true that many among you are being meticulously prepared for more direct and conscious forms of contact through vivid dreams, compelling visions, undeniable sightings, profound inner knowing, and eventually through experiences that will feel undeniably physical and tangible. This is precisely why it is so profoundly important not to bypass or disregard the richness of your current human life. You are not being upgraded to escape humanity. Rather, you are being upgraded as humans to experience and express a more expansive form of humanity. When you consciously practice the art of reception, strive to keep it elegantly simple. Cultivate a vertical energetic alignment. Visualize a clear connection from the earth below, through your heart center, and upward to the boundless sky above. Inhale deeply, imagining you are receiving pure energy and wisdom from above, drawing it down into your sacred heart space. Then, exhale slowly, as if sending that transformed energy down to the earth, grounding and integrating it within your physical reality. This practice effectively creates a robust energetic circuit that stabilizes everything you receive, preventing you from becoming ungrounded, disoriented, or overly fixated on external phenomena. It gracefully brings the higher, more ethereal energies into the lower, physical realms, transforming abstract downloads into deeply embodied wisdom and fleeting flashes of insight into tangible, lived change within your everyday existence. As your entire energetic system undergoes this profound repatterning, you may very well notice a natural divergence, a gentle pulling away from certain foods, specific media, particular conversations, or even entire environments that no longer serve your highest good. This is not a judgment against these things. Rather, it is a simple, undeniable expression of resonance. Your highly intelligent body will instinctively gravitate toward what supports its coherence and vitality, and naturally move away from whatever tends to disturb its equilibrium. Allow this process to unfold with gentle grace and self-compassion. There is absolutely no need to become rigid, dogmatic, or to impose punishing spiritual rules upon yourself. Instead, simply listen deeply to your inner guidance. Notice what genuinely expands you, what makes you feel more alive and vibrant. Conversely, notice what contracts you, what drains your energy or diminishes your spirit. Let your evolving choices become profound acts of self-respect and self-honoring. Two additional, yet intimately related, dimensions of reception and repatterning are now ripe for explicit naming, as many of you are already navigating them without fully recognizing their distinct forms. These are frequency literacy and temporal softening. Frequency literacy. In the nascent stages of the awakening journey, many individuals tended to relate to incoming energies in a somewhat binary fashion, categorizing them as either, in quote, high vibe, in quote, or in quote, low vibe, in quote, inherently, in quote, supportive, in quote, or in quote, disturbing, in quote, pleasant, in quote, or in quote, unpleasant, in quote. While this initial framework certainly served a useful purpose, helping to develop a foundational level of discernment as your energetic field becomes increasingly refined and sophisticated, this simplistic binary framework proves to be utterly insufficient. You are now entering a deeply nuanced phase where you are actively learning to read frequency with profound understanding, rather than merely judging its surface presentation. Frequency literacy implies the capacity to feel not only how an energy feels to your system, but also to discern its underlying purpose and function, what it is actively doing within your being. Some frequencies may indeed feel exquisitely gentle and inherently comforting, primarily because they are reinforcing what is already stable, coherent, and well integrated within your system. Conversely, others may feel intensely powerful, profoundly disorienting, or even initially uncomfortable because they are actively reorganizing and dismantling old energetic structures and outdated patterns that can no longer adequately support your continuous expansion and growth. If you exclusively rely on comfort as your sole metric for discernment, you may inadvertently resist precisely those transformative frequencies that are the most catalytic and potent for your evolution. Conversely, if you uncritically glorify intensity for its own sake, you may unnecessarily overload your system, leading to burnout or imbalance. The light body integrates more harmoniously and effectively when you approach these energetic experiences with a profound sense of curiosity rather than a reactive stance of fear or judgment. This kind of nuanced curiosity might manifest as inner inquiries such as, and quote, what is this specific energy truly asking of me at this moment? What deeper layer of my being is it touching or activating? What is it attempting to reorganize, to loosen its grip, or to amplify within my consciousness? End quote. When you approach reception in this profoundly inquisitive way, you naturally cease attempting to protect yourself from feeling the full spectrum of your experiences. You stop demanding that every single upgrade or expansion must manifest as a joyous or ecstatic sensation. Instead, you begin to recognize intricate patterns and subtle correlations. You observe that some frequencies primarily work with enhancing perception, others with accessing and clearing memory, still others with stimulating creativity, some with deepening compassion, and yet others with subtly altering your very experience of time itself. You gradually become profoundly literate in the exquisite language of light, not merely as abstract symbols or complex codes, but as a rich, living, and deeply embodied experience. This newfound literacy also empowers you to wisely and intuitively pace yourself through these transformative shifts. You learn precisely when it is essential to rest and when it is appropriate to actively engage. You discern when to simplify external stimuli and when to allow for grander expansion. You instinctively know when to ground yourself firmly and when to open upward, reaching for higher realms. This is not about rigid control. It is about a profound collaboration with your evolving self. The light body is not a static machine being installed. It is a dynamic, living system. Time may, at various moments, feel extraordinarily stretched and expansive, while at other times it seems remarkably compressed, with days passing in what feels like an instant. Specific moments, however, can feel exquisitely rich and endlessly expansive. Memories may surface out of their perceived linear sequence, offering new insights. The insistent grip of anticipation concerning the future gradually loosens, losing its once dominant hold. This phenomenon is what we refer to as temporal softening. As the light body anchors more fully and stably within your physical form, your consciousness becomes less rigidly tethered to a purely linear perception of time. You do not entirely abandon time, but your relationship to it transforms, becoming far more fluid, malleable, and dynamic. You begin to experience time not as an oppressive external pressure or a rigid construct, but rather as an adaptable medium, a flowing current. This shift carries enormous implications for how you live, how you create, and how you receive. In the paradigm of rigid, linear time, you often feel perpetually late or prematurely early, constantly rushed, and burdened by the pervasive sensation that there is never quite enough time. In the liberating space of softened time, presence becomes paramount. You discover that the most effective and impactful actions arise not from a frantic sense of urgency, but from impeccable, intuitive timing. You develop an innate sense of when to act and when to patiently wait, not based on artificial clocks or external calendars, but solely based on a deep inner alignment. This is precisely why many of you feel significantly less motivated by artificial deadlines and far more responsive to an intrinsic sense of inner readiness. While this can certainly be disorienting in a world meticulously structured around the relentless ticking of clocks and the rigidity of calendars, causing you to perhaps worry that you are becoming, end quote, unproductive, end quote. In truth, you are becoming profoundly temporally intelligent. The light body simply does not function optimally under conditions of constant pressure or ceaseless urgency. It integrates and thrives through natural rhythm, through organic cycles of expansion and well-deserved rest, with attention moving fluidly and organically rather than being forced or externally dictated. When time softens its grip, you grant yourself the profound permission to live precisely in this more harmonious, rhythmic way. You may also notice that old regrets from the past and future anxieties gradually lose their intense grip and emotional charge. Not because you are shirking responsibility, but because you are less rigidly identified with a single, finite storyline of your life. You begin to intuitively sense that many versions of you exist across various timelines, all gracefully contributing to the same overarching journey of soul learning and evolution. This expansive awareness naturally mitigates the fear of making, end quote, mistakes, end quote, as you understand their role in a larger, multidimensional tapestry. Temporal softening also powerfully supports the process of reception by significantly reducing resistance. A substantial portion of our resistance to incoming energetic shifts often stems from the deeply ingrained belief that, end quote, it is happening too fast, end quote, or, end quote, I simply can't oppose, keep up, end quote. When time is perceived as a fluid, adaptable medium rather than a fixed, unyielding constant, these limiting narratives simply dissolve. You come to realize that nothing is truly, end quote, late, end quote, and nothing is truly, end quote, early, end quote. Everything arrives precisely when the energetic field is ready and capable of sustaining it. Frequency literacy and temporal softening, when combined, collaboratively forge a new, empowered posture of reception. You transform into an individual capable of hosting profound transformation without succumbing to dramatization. of feeling deeply without being emotionally flooded, of opening widely without losing your core coherence, and of receiving immense wisdom without demanding every single explanation up front. This, indeed, represents a significant and transformative threshold in your evolutionary journey. 5. Embodiment and service. At this advanced level of integration, reception is no longer primarily about acquiring something external. It is fundamentally about becoming someone who possesses the capacity to sustain and embody more truth, more nuanced understanding, more unconditional love, more multifaceted complexity, all without experiencing fragmentation or internal division. From this profound state of integrated being, authentic expression follows effortlessly and naturally. Many of you have earnestly pondered the existential question, and quote, "Why am I truly here?" End quote. As you observe your world, witnessing widespread suffering, pervasive conflict, general confusion, and the obvious limitations of outdated systems, you might wonder if it is your sole imperative to individually fix all of it. We assure you, it is not your solitary burden. Your essential purpose is to be the living frequency that makes new, more harmonious systems possible. You are called to be the human being who can sustain a greater magnitude of unconditional love without collapsing under its intensity. You are to be the one who profoundly remembers that there is not a single predetermined future, and therefore you do not need to blindly obey fear-based predictions or prophecies. Your role is to align yourself consciously and intentionally with the reality you most deeply prefer, and then, from that aligned space, to take the very next, most coherent step that genuinely matches that vibratory alignment. This profoundly is what true service embodies. Your emergent light body is not intended as an escape vehicle, nor is it a ticket off Earth to some distant realm. It is, rather, a profound new way to be on Earth with significantly more grace, profound clarity, boundless compassion, and expansive creative power. You consciously chose to come here to engage with specific themes, to forge meaningful relationships, and to navigate particular challenges that would serve to awaken and refine extraordinary qualities within your being, such as courage, unwavering patience, impeccable integrity, radical forgiveness, boundless creativity, and pure joy. It is crucial that you do not bypass these rich human themes in the name of, end quote, ascension, end quote. True ascension is not about abandoning your human experience. It is, instead, the profound elevation of how you consciously meet and engage with your chosen themes. As you become increasingly luminous and integrated, your influence will become simultaneously quieter and yet undeniably stronger. You will discover that people are naturally drawn to your presence, not because you project an image of unattainable perfection, but precisely because you are profoundly real, authentic, and possess an inherent calmness. You will find that your very presence often assists others in gently regulating their own nervous systems, bringing them a sense of peace. You will notice that your words land differently, with greater impact and resonance, because they are carried by the potent energy of coherence. You will find that you can contribute meaningfully without depleting your own vital energy, because you are no longer attempting to push against the river and oppose as current. Instead, you are gracefully moving with its natural flow. Service, in its purest form, can be wonderfully simple and deeply varied. Sometimes it manifests as silent meditation, heartfelt prayer, and the sending of healing intentions. At other times, it is a deeply meaningful conversation where you offer the gift of listening without feeling the need to, end quote, fix, end quote, anything. Occasionally, it is the courageous act of setting a clear, compassionate boundary that protects your vital energy so that you can continue to be kind and present. Sometimes, it is a creative act, perhaps a piece of writing, a song, a painting, or a purposeful project that carries a higher frequency and subtle beauty into your culture and collective consciousness. And sometimes, it involves actively participating in the co-creation of new, more ethical systems. fostering healthier communities, developing more holistic ways of caring for the physical body, promoting transparent and heart-centered leadership, or pioneering more sustainable approaches to energy and planetary stewardship. You're not required to do all of it. Your sacred task is simply to do what you are genuinely guided to do from the depths of your heart. That guidance will emerge with greater clarity and unwavering certainty. Each soul has its own unique plan, its own divine timing, and its distinct trajectory. Some will awaken gracefully through gentleness and ease. Others will awaken powerfully through stark contrast and challenging experiences. Some will awaken later in this lifetime, and still others will choose to depart and return in another incarnation. None of this signifies failure or error. Your singular work is to faithfully follow the guidance of your own heart and to authentically live the timeline and reality you most deeply prefer to experience. When you commit to this, you naturally become an irresistible invitation, a radiant beacon, living proof that profound peace, joy, and harmonious coexistence are truly possible. And when a sufficient number of you embody this profound truth, the entire collective consciousness of humanity will inevitably transform. Joy, in its essence, is an integral and indispensable part of true service. If you attempt to serve from a place of soul heaviness, emotional burden, or internal struggle, you inadvertently contribute to and perpetuate more heaviness in the world. However, if you serve from a state of inner coherence, clarity, and lightness, you naturally generate and propagate more coherence and light within the collective field. This is precisely why we earnestly encourage you to consciously remember and embrace the inherent joy that is woven into the very fabric of this evolutionary journey. Life is not intended to be a constant state of emergency, a relentless struggle. It is, at its core, meant to be a wondrous and expansive exploration. When you grant yourself the profound permission to genuinely enjoy the simple pleasures, the exquisite birdsong, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the comforting warmth of a favorite drink, the infectious laughter of a cherished friend, you are not being selfish. On the contrary, you are actively tuning and refining your inner instrument, making it more resonant. A finely tuned instrument inherently plays a clearer, more harmonious note, and that clearer note, in turn, has the power to subtly tune and elevate the entire room, affecting all who are present. Compassion, in its most authentic form, must also be firmly grounded in self-awareness. True compassion is not about collapsing into the pain or suffering of others, losing yourself in their narrative. It is rather the robust capacity to remain present and fully attuned to suffering while steadfastly staying connected to your own unshakable inner center and energetic boundaries. This kind of profoundly centered compassion naturally gives rise to, end quote, right action, end quote, which sometimes means actively helping, sometimes wisely stepping back, sometimes offering appropriate resources, sometimes simply praying, and sometimes courageously saying, end quote, no, end quote, to protect your energy. The light body does not transform you into a passive doormat or someone easily overwhelmed. On the contrary, it makes you incredibly clear, deeply loving without ever losing yourself in the process. As you progressively embody this fifth movement, you will come to a profound realization that these 5 movements are not merely sequential steps that are completed once and then forgotten. They are, in fact, a dynamic, interconnected cycle that you will continuously revisit throughout your journey. Coherence perpetually returns you to a state of inner peace and equilibrium. Descent into the heart consistently returns you to your deepest guidance and intuition. Purification tirelessly keeps the channel of your being clear and unencumbered. Reception and repatterning continuously bring forth higher frequencies and expansive possibilities. And finally, embodiment and service are the living expressions of those higher frequencies in your lived, tangible form. And then, when life inevitably presents you with a new, beckoning threshold, you gently begin again, But this time, you do so from a higher point on the spiral of evolution, wiser, softer, stronger, and more exquisitely awake than before. Closing practice. We leave you with a simple, yet profoundly powerful practice that encapsulates the entirety of this transmission, enabling you to live it authentically rather than merely understanding it intellectually. Begin by breathing gently, allowing your entire body to progressively relax and soften. Direct your conscious awareness into your heart space until you feel deeply present and grounded. Allow any emotion that is ready to be felt to surface and be experienced, welcoming it with profound kindness and gentle acceptance until its intensity perceptibly softens and releases its grip. Then, consciously open upward and downward simultaneously, connecting from the boundless sky to your heart, and from your heart down to the living earth, receiving and grounding these energies in harmonious concert. Finally, choose one small, coherent action that perfectly matches the elevated frequency you have just cultivated. Perhaps sending a heartfelt message, establishing a clear and compassionate boundary, taking a gentle creative step, indulging in a moment of restorative rest, or offering a small, kind gesture to another. This, beloved ones, is the true essence of light body activation as a lived path, not an abstract concept, not a performance for others, but a deeply authentic and embodied way of being in the world. You are navigating this journey beautifully. You are far more supported and loved than you could ever possibly imagine. You are not late to anything. You are not failing in any way. You are magnificently awakening in a manner that profoundly honors both your profound humanity and your inherent divinity, all at the very same time. And this, our beloved friends, is the true, magnificent purpose of the light body, to gently bring heaven to earth, manifested through the simple, yet utterly miraculous conduit of a human heart that remembers its divine origins and its sacred purpose. We hold you perpetually in constant radiance and unconditional love. We are complete for now, our dear friends, and we remain intimately connected with you in the burgeoning clarity you are diligently discovering and the exquisite ease with which you are gracefully learning to receive it. I am Lady, and it has been my profound delight and honor to have been with you today.